Greetings, fellow travelers! Welcome to another exciting level of the RPG Cave. I'm one of your hosts, the level 199 Dark Lord Ryan Turford, and I am joined by the level 199 Battle Alchemist, Dr. Garret. How's it going, Garret?
I'm doing good. So I just want to, go into a little of this rant, Ryan, is that I'm still playing Baldur's Gate 3. Okay.
Right.
So I want to open up to it. I'm into it. Like it's people are proving me wrong. This game is very enjoyable, even though I'm not a CRPG fan, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying really hard to figure out if there's any battle alchemist stuff going on in this campaign. Not yet.
Turns out nothing.
Nothing. No. I'm not digging that. Yeah, I have like a bunch of these herbs that I'm picking up and different things. It reminds me of Witcher so much because it's like, oh, there's a new recipe you can make now because he just picks something randomly off the floor. I'm like, cool. But no battle alchemy so far. I do have some bombs though and some potions it's stuck away in my Mary Poppins bag. Overall, it's a pretty good game, Ryan.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, at least you're not. I mean, it sounds like you haven't enabled the powers of Plague Knight, because Plague Knight is kind of like the battle alchemist I kind of think of. He's always like throwing bottles at people that explode.
Yeah.
Like
okay. You're just pulling out that Shovel Knight reference. Wow. Okay. Out of left field. I like it.
I mean, I'm stealing that shovel guy because I love Shovel Knight.
Have you played the Plague Knight DLC? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's not. I didn't love it.
Oh, it's not that good.
No, it's definitely like of the DLC for Shovel Knight, it's definitely the worst one in my opinion.
There's King of Cards, and then there's also that Scepter Knight DLC,
Spectre of
right?
Torment. Yeah.
Okay. I need to play the DLC because I played through the main game twice. Pretty good.
I actually love Spectre of Torment. It's my favorite Shovel Knight thing. So that's it's really, really good. And then King Knights is actually surprisingly good too. But I think they're both pretty good. And then of course we got Mina the Hollow are hopefully coming out this year. Which
coming up soon. I'm liking it. I played Shovel Knight on my 3DS. I think it's been almost 10 years now.
Nice.
Because it came out in 2014 on the 3DS. I remember that. Jeez.
Yeah, actually, fun fact, when I started podcasting for the first time, the first podcast I ever joined was back in 2014 when Shovel Knight was coming out. So that's how long I've been podcasting for, Garret, which is just kind of crazy to think about that it's been, 10
play
years
it on the 3DS or the Wii U.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had it on PC before it came to anything. So
wait. So was it out on PC? On through Kickstarter?
It wasn't like you could get the PC version through Kickstarter, but when it initially released, it was also on PC. And then it also came to 3DS and stuff around the same time. So, because that's why I was playing it, because I was like, I don't want to play it on 3DS. So,
oh man, it's so good on 3DS though.
Well, I know that it actually is. I prefer I like it on 3DS, but I think I like it better on Vita. I feel like if
I like both. I played on 3DS and played it on Vita. It's great stuff. Now I have it on everything, and I just need to play the DLC now.
Nice.
Anyways, I'm done.
Oh, speaking of cool indie games, real quick, Garret, before we move on, this isn't an RPG, but I wanted to bring this up. Have you seen that tonight there was a stealth drop of Celeste 64 by the developers of Celeste? It's I played it before the show started, Garret, and it was one of the coolest things I've played in a while, because it's basically like Mario 64. We've got this big open area, but it's Celeste, and you're collecting strawberries, and then every time you collect a strawberry, it does like the Mario 64 star collecting animation. Oh my god, it's so cool. Yeah.
Was it hard? Is it as hard as? Oh, okay. It's as hard as Celeste 2D.
I mean, it might actually be harder because it's 3D platforming, and 3D platforming I think is
that's so rough. I can only imagine.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so cool. But,
interesting.
Yeah. Anyways, this is the RPG Cave where we talk about RPGs, except for the first 5 minutes of the show. So folks at home, if you want to support the show, there's a number of awesome ways to do that. Number one, if you're watching the live stream, write meow over at youtube.com/carpoolgaming. Or if you're watching the video on demand later, don't forget to slightly tap that like button, kick that subscribe button, and then roll your D20 to see if you can pose in the comments. Spoiler alert, regardless of what you roll, you can post in the comments and let us know what your favorite Persona game is. Also, if you're listening on audio feeds, don't forget to hit that subscribe button there as well, and rate us if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, huge shout out, Garrett. I don't know if you knew this because I don't think I've mentioned this anywhere. But I checked the numbers after last week's episode because I know we're like a lot higher in the Spotify ranks all of a sudden. Because
what's going on?
Like a big influx of new listeners who after last week's show. So huge shout out to everyone who's brand new to the show, or at least subscribe.
Thank you, new listeners. You just came into the chaos, the RPG chaos.
Well, believe it or not, Garrett, we for the longest time on Spotify, if you search RPGs, we weren't appearing on the first page, but boy howdy, we are now. We are now.
Oh, that's so cool.
It's a brand new thing. So
man, we can get every single nerd into this podcast group.
That's awesome. I mean, hopefully it looks like we're at least, beating the Alien tabletop RPG podcast that has like 5 episodes that stopped recording like 5 years
I'll take
ago.
what we can get, man. That sounds actually pretty cool. Hopefully they finished whatever their campaign.
I think they only did like a 5-episode run, but I saw that just listed there when I was scrolling through. I was like, oh, Alien, that's kind of cool. And then I looked into it further. I'm like, oh, that's cool. It was like a limited run kind of series. But yeah, we're at least beating them in traction. So huge shout out to everyone new who's hopped on in and joined us on this journey through RPGs. And last but not least, of course, our Patreon, patreon.com/carpoolgaming. If you want one giant list or podcast feed of the entire Carpool Gaming cinematic universe on it, head on over there. Also, we've got exclusive content, Light Sweet Hangs, which of course we just put up a 4-hour episode of Sweet Hangs with Donnie and Sean.
Dang, dude.
In fact, Sean went through the gauntlet that day, Garrett, because he recorded that and then he recorded Xbox Drive with me literally back to back. So it was like 5.5 hours.
That's like half a day.
Yeah, it's
no joke.
It's kind of ridiculous.
What a trooper.
You can head on over there, watch Sweet Hangs, or if you've got questions for me, the Pants Patreon podcast for Patreon's podcast is recording this week, and I'm the special guest. So make sure to submit questions to me, and I'll answer them on that show. But nice. Last but not least, I almost forgot to mention, Garrett. Next Monday, we are exactly 1 week away from unveiling the next chapter in Carpool Gaming. We even made a surprise announcement today where we talked about me joining the PlayStation Drive as Matt and Court leave the show. And that actually provides an opening on Xbox Drive for a brand new host, which we didn't announce before, but it's a thing now. So make sure to place your bets, ladies and gentlemen, on who is joining each show. And we'll reveal them on Monday. So make sure to come back to the channel for that.
Ryan, are we going to have a Steam Deck show? Is that what's going to happen?
I mean, if the demand is there for a Steam Deck show.
That's true. That's true. Never mind then.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Rybo is like chomping at the bit to maybe do one, but yeah.
Everyone, like every single nerd out there wants a PC podcast. And I'm like, what are we going to talk about? Just like, here are the GPUs.
But the Xbox Drive is already the unofficial Carpool Gaming PC podcast. It already exists. Yeah. We literally spent like half the show this week talking about PC stuff. So
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. You have your fill there.
It's the closest we got to it. But anyways, Garrett, tonight I wanted to do something special because we're gonna read from the sacred text. See, I went through that quickly there because Persona 3 Reload comes out on Friday. And we want to celebrate the release of Persona 3 Reload. In fact, Garrett, I don't know if you knew this, but people have been somehow people have gotten early access to this game that aren't normal streamers that have been sitting there streaming the game for the last day. Basically,
that's weird. Yeah, I guess it's just like a pre-order thing, and is some glitch going on?
There's no early access. I think that like there must have been street copies that broke.
Street copies, yeah. Okay,
because there was one live stream last night, Garrett, that had 125K concurrent viewers watching it.
Because I think Atlas needs to get their ducks in a row because they always mess up something. It's either this or they're like, it's too stringent on the streaming rules, or I don't know. They have some very weird rules going on there.
They did put up the normal tweet, Garrett, this week of the dossier on what you need to know about streaming Persona 3 Reload.
They're very weird about that. They're like, hey, don't spoil anything. Make sure you contain spoil. I'm just like, come on, guys. Like,
I get it though. I get it. It's a heavily story.
Not every other game's doing that though.
Yeah.
It's just weird to me to see that every time from Atlus. But
I mean, at least it's not as bad as before, because I remember that Atlus, what they would do when they first started doing this, Garrett, would just if you like, you couldn't even just tag it with spoilers. You just, if you uploaded that point in the game or if you streamed it, they would like copyright block it.
They'll copy. Yeah, they were like putting the hammer down. At least I remember Persona 5 being a big deal. Yeah, like you cannot stream it directly from anything.
Yeah, they were letting you stream it for the first hour, and if you went past that first hour, even if you didn't get the game for free, they would just copyright claim it and take down your stream.
Yeah. It's so weird.
It was a whole thing.
Yeah. Not like, brand awareness or video game awareness or anything for your.
Well, that's why they switched over to the new system where they're just like, please just tag your stuff with spoilers if you play through the game. But that's enough about that subject. We got to turn this around a little bit, Garrett, because we wanted to celebrate the release of Persona 3 Reload tonight because, of course, there's been a ton of Persona games over the years. Garrett and I have played a lot of Persona games. I definitely know that there are some games, Garrett, that I've played that you haven't. And there might be one or two of these that you've played through that I haven't.
Yeah.
But we are going to go ahead and do something we haven't done in a while that I've wanted to do for a long time. And we're doing a tier list, baby. We're doing a tier list of every single Persona game, including the spinoffs. So I came up with a very scientific 5-tier system here, Garrett. Of course, S being very the scientific. GOAT, being like the best of the best for Persona games. A being a very, very solid game. B being like, it's good. It's a good game. C is probably our lowest ranking, where it's just like, it's fine. Because like, as you and I both know, Garrett, none of these games are really truly bad. So there's no reason to put D or F on here.
That's true. That's true. There's not from the games I've played, there's not a bad game in here.
Yeah. I don't think so either. So C is the lowest I think we could go. But then I also have, a special 5th section for didn't play. Because there are a couple of these that admittedly Garrett and I haven't played, but I wanted to at least feature all the games on here. Just in case, so we can at least talk about them a little bit. So first of all, we're going to start with the quickest category I think to go through, Garrett, which is Persona 1 and 2. Because Persona 1 and 2, this is kind of the section here where I don't think either one of us have really played any of these at all.
Yeah. And I guess there's the PlayStation 1 version, and then that's the PlayStation Portable or Classic version.
Yeah, so I've got here on the video. So first one here is Persona 1 on the PlayStation 1. And then right next to it is Persona on the PlayStation Portable. And then we've got Persona 2 Eternal Torment, which is the sequel to Persona 2 on the PlayStation 1. And then we have Persona 2 Innocent Sin, which is the first game in the Persona 2 saga, but it's the PSP version because that's what we got in North America. Okay. Because in Japan, they got both versions. In North America, on PlayStation, we only got the sequel. And on PSP, when they were doing the remakes of these games, we only got the first one.
Okay.
For some stupid reason. I don't understand why they did that.
Well, there's a lot of questionable things going on back then with a lot of Japanese companies bringing games to the West. So, yeah.
Okay. And in all fairness, I have dabbled with these games. Like I have played a little bit of Persona and Persona 2 on PSP. And I like what I played, but I just never really found the time to go through them properly. So, they're not far enough. I'm not far enough into any of them to really render an opinion on them one way or the other. So that's why we're filing them, I think, under do not play at this point.
Well, yeah, because we just absolutely did not play these yet. Yeah. I hope they have like some sort of newer versions or updated ports later on. I think they can do that. Like, maybe even next year or something.
These are also games as well that before the PlayStation store goes down for the Vita, these are games I highly recommend people pick up because because Atlus may just never decide to do these ports or as remasters. So you should grab them.
With Atlus.
Yeah. So it's better to have them. So if you do want to go play them, they're there. And I think they're only like $10 each on the store. So they're fairly cheap. And they play well on the Vita. So I do think
Okay.
My advice to people out there is to grab these games while they still can, because there will be a time probably either this year or next year where that store goes down permanently. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But anyways, moving on. It's time to talk about Persona 3. Of course, Persona 3 Reload coming out this week. We're not talking about that. We're going to start with, and we're going to rank each version of Persona 3, Garrett, because
go for it.
That's just how we do. So, of course, you haven't played Persona 3, right, Garrett?
I have not played any of the 3 versions of Persona 3. So this is, I am relying all on you, on your judgment of these games.
It's all good. We're going to get to games that get Garrett's played pretty quickly soon. But Persona 3, base game, I think it's good. But this is the type of game where I would probably put it in B. Because I think it's a good game. But obviously, we do have the updated versions of Persona 3. And, there's no real reason to go back to this game currently. It was good at the time. But after FES came out, as an example, there's just no reason to go back to this one.
Of course.
I would label this in the B tier.
Okay. Sounds good.
Moving on, Persona 3 FES, which is kind of the updated version. This is actually my favorite version of Persona 3 currently, until of course we play Reload this week. Assuming that it takes over, of course.
I don't know. You may never know. There's a lot of, it's based on the original version. We may not get a lot of stuff in the FES version. So
true, but it also might just be a 100-hour game anyways. It might not need it. So there is that. But I'm going to actually put Persona 3 FES, a masterpiece of a game, Garrett. One of the best role-playing games I've ever played in my entire life. Straight S tier. This game is straight fire. This game is incredible. The only critique I have for Persona 3 FES is the fact that you can't control your party members beyond the main character. That's it. Everything else about this game is incredible. It has the animated cinematics, which look awesome still today. If you go back and play this game, it looks great. It's in the Persona 3 and 4 engine, so it still looks pretty darn good on the PlayStation 2. It's got the answer content, which, is kind of like the real ending in a lot of ways, like the true ending to Persona 3. And honestly, I think this is a instant classic. One of the best role-playing games I've ever played. Easily in the top 25 role-playing games I've ever played. So
high praise
for Persona 3 FES. I think it's still awesome. And it also sets the bar really high for Reload, I think. Like it's got to somehow clear this large bar, and I don't know if it's going to. I'm excited to find out.
I don't know. Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know if it's going to either, just because of that missing content. I don't know, like what's gonna be better for you. The uncontrollable party members is a real, I don't know. That's a big thing for me. It's like if you have that, it's just like, man, it's gonna be much harder. I think it's just gonna be much harder to go through a game like that because you have less control. But
you definitely do. But also, like, if you know the weakness of the enemies, the party members will always target the weaknesses, which is exactly usually what you would do if you were in control generally most of the time. And then of course you can set tactics in the menu so that if you don't want them to go below a certain portion of their SP, they won't do that. So you do have a fair amount of control. But you're right. Like it'd be instantly better if you can control them fully. But you can't do that. However, the version of Persona 3 that we have, where you can fully control the party members, is Persona 3 Portable, but it's very limited because of the fact that it's on the PSP, where they took out all the cinematics. It basically plays like a visual novel in a lot of ways. You also don't really have like the exploration element in the towns. Like you still go around and talk to people and stuff, but it's like a mouse cursor over JPEGs of the areas.
Adventure type of deal.
Yeah. The only free exploration you have is within Tartarus itself, the dungeon. So that I think really hinders this game. I love the second protagonist's story, though. I think it adds a lot to the game. But this is another one that I actually put in B tier because with FES out there and with Reload coming, unless you really want to play the female protagonist side, I don't see any reason to go back to this version either.
Well, I'm glad that they brought this over to current gen. Just like, hey, here's like another side of content and catch up with what Persona 3 is. here's the Persona 3 portable version.
Right.
And yeah, so that's good.
Yeah.
To have.
I think it's good. But moving on, Garrett. We got to talk about Persona 4 next, because obviously we've both played Persona 4. I don't think you've played the original version though, right? The PS2 version?
I have not played I actually never had a PS2.
Right.
Just letting you know. The most famous, most popular home console ever in North America, or maybe close to that, just one of the biggest ones, did not have it.
So, one of the best role-playing game consoles of all time, someone might argue. But it's also one of those things too where I also ask because, you know, there are other ways to play PS2 games. So that's true.
Yeah. I have not played the original Persona 4.
Okay. Then I'll talk about this one again. This falls into a similar situation as the first Persona 3 does, where, you know, it is like with Golden out there isn't as much reason to go back to this version, unless you just don't care about the extra content. Because actually, and we're going to get to this in a little bit later in the show, Garrett, because we got a question about, you know, what a shorter Persona game is. If you kind of just want to get to the end game and have like a, you know, an actual ending to the story pretty quickly, then I would argue that Persona 4 is actually a good version of the game to do that with, because you don't have the extra semester of content, which, you know, if you don't care enough as much about, you know, seeing all that stuff, then I actually think the original version is actually like a good way of experiencing the game while not having to commit like 100 hours to play it. So that's why, Garrett, I'm actually going to put it above Persona 3, and I'm going to put it in the A tier. I'm going to put it in the A tier. I think it's interesting. I think it's a great version of a great game. It obviously, you know, we'll talk about Golden in a second, but I think Golden still outdoes it. But I do think like there are reasons to go back to this one, unlike the original version of Persona 3, where I just don't think there's a reason to go back to that one.
Okay. Sounds good.
But Garrett, your time to shine is here. It's time to talk about Persona 4 Golden on the PlayStation Vita, and of course available now on every console known to man. What do you think of that? This one, where do you think we rank this one?
Well, just to give you some context, this is my first Vita game I played back in 2014. It was kind of like the first JRPG where it like you know, venture outside of Pokemon. It's like, this is the game, and I was like, okay, JRPGs are legit, they're real. So Persona 4 Golden is very very near, dear, close to my heart. That being said, I did not use a guide, and I think I missed a semester.
Oh my god. Oh, so you really only played, I guess, the Persona 4
I really
original
did. I think I did not get a good ending. I was like, wait, that's the end of it? Like, I had that type of reaction going on.
Okay.
I'm gonna give this, for me, just, you know, just specifically, is I would give it an A tier as well.
Okay.
Just because I think there's, with these Persona games, at least the mainline ones and then the advanced ones, it's so weird to miss content like that and having no idea. All right. I loved going through this game. I was very addicted to this. It's very memorable to me, but I don't think for me it's my favorite Persona game. So I'm going to have to just stick it to A tier because it's a really good, really great game. But yeah.
Well,
not
guess
a
what, Garrett?
Major masterpiece as everyone else says.
Yeah. So. I mean, honestly, Garrett, I agree with you. I actually think that Persona 4 Golden, while it's better than the original version in a lot of ways, also is an A tier for me. In fact, I'm going to switch them like this, so that Persona 4 Golden, I think, just ekes out the original version of the game, but not by like a huge, you know, barrier or anything like that. Because also Persona 4, like, I like it a lot, but to your point, I also think it's not my favorite of the three. In fact, it's not even close. I think it's actually between Persona 4, 3, 4, and 5. I think it's my least favorite of the three. So,
okay, interesting.
But I still like it a lot, to the point where I'm putting it in A tier still, despite the fact that I think I don't like it as much as Persona 5 or Persona 3. So, Persona 4 Golden. I also like the problem with Golden, and I don't know if you felt this way while playing it, Garrett, or I guess you might not have felt it that way because of the extra semester. I felt with the extra semester, it just goes on too long. Like, I felt like I just kind of just wanted the game to be over when I was like halfway through the extra semester. I'm like, all right, let's pick up the pace a little bit. We got to finish this. I kind of just wanted the game to end, which is not a good feeling, or not a feeling of a game that I'm really enjoying at that point. So
I'll never forget playing this game and have its hooks in me. I was like, it's either summer or winter. I think it was definitely winter. I was in college and I was back home playing this game, and I had the PlayStation 4 right in front of me with the TV ready to go. I did not turn that thing on once, and I was just literally in my room with the Vita, just playing through this game, and it's like this is so good, so entertaining. So major props to them catching my attention on a little handheld screen compared to PlayStation 4. So
right, and I mean at that point too, like I played this game after playing Persona 5 for context.
Okay.
And I actually played this on the Vita TV, Garrett. I hooked up my Vita TV.
That thing.
Yeah. I have one of those. I bought one.
I have one of those. I don't have a DualShock 4 though. I cannot.
Oh, no, no.
Cannot control it.
You can hook up a DualShock 3 to it if you want.
Garrett. I don't have a PlayStation DualShock 3. Like no, I can't control the thing. I just have a PlayStation Vita TV. Yeah. Just to have it, I could sell it for a lot of money now.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're worth a lot of money. So like, if you don't want it, like eBay will get your back on that one, Garrett.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's how I played it. It was on Vita TV because, I wanted to play through the other Persona games because Persona 5 was my first one, my first Persona game that I really got into. So I retroactively went back and played these games, and maybe that's why my thoughts about these games are very different from a lot of other people's, just because of the order I kind of played them in was very different than a lot of other people. But yeah, Persona 4 Golden, again, great game, but I just don't think it's S tier, because S tier I'm reserving for like the cream of the crop kind of games.
Right.
So speaking of cream of the crop games, Garrett, Persona 5 on
5.
the PlayStation 4, exclusive to the PlayStation 4, of course. This is, of course, the original release. We'll talk about Royal in a second. Again, this was the game that got me into Persona. This was the game that, turned me on to this entire series. And then I went back and had to play all these games after finishing Persona 5. I loved it. I never went for the platinum for original Persona 5, just because I was like, I didn't want to do this over 2 playthroughs. So this is a game I loved a lot, but we do have the Royal version that adds a lot to it, which is why I think this one is also, this one's kind of an A or B tier. I think I'm leaning towards A tier, but what do you think about this, Garrett?
Well, I have, as you know, I haven't gone through Persona 5 Royal, so I cannot judge, compare with the original one, but this is the strongest Persona game for me, for sure. If Persona 5 Royal wasn't there, didn't exist, I would be like, yo, put this in S tier right now. Just put it in there. It's a masterpiece. But I know from everyone talking about Royal, there is just so much more extra content, so much more like quality of life mechanics with that just makes the game so much better. So I just want to reserve that and just put Persona 5 as an A tier.
Yeah.
Because it's still a good way to do it. It's a very good game. And I think like if you choose this one over Royal, it's not going to be a bad choice either, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I don't think so either.
It's a great game.
That's why I agree. I think, in fact, this goes at the top of the A's, I think.
Okay. Like top of the A's. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think it goes ahead of Persona 4 Golden for sure. Okay. Because I agree with you. I think Persona 5 is like the stronger of the two of them. Not my favorite of the three, but really good. And then, of course, Persona 5 Royal. This is straight S tier. This straight fire to me. Like
straight fire.
Yeah.
Let's go.
In the way that, Persona 5, it took everything Persona 5 had and then improved on it in a really smart way. And it really felt like the extra content that you have in this one versus comparing it to the content in Golden, I didn't feel like it overstayed its welcome. You basically just have an additional palace you go do. You have some extra time to kind of clean up your social links, and then it gives you a different ending. Like that's, it kind of felt like the perfect length for me as far as how much content I wanted after the story ended. Whereas I felt like Golden's just went on too long. So that's why I feel like it's in a great position there in this tier, 100%. In fact, I'm like, do I put Royal above FES, and I'm like, I think it probably gets the edge over FES because of the character control stuff in FES.
Yeah, it's really just the quality of life right there.
Yeah.
But cool. I played a few hours of Persona 5 Royal. I actually got it back in when it was first released. It was
Mhm.
like 2020,
Yep.
right? Yeah, I did get it on the PlayStation 4. But I played some and then I quickly dropped out of it just because I played this game before and just went on to other things. I want to go back to this terribly. I think probably this year that I think about it and it's just like I know there's so many RPGs, but like man, it's time. I need to go
Yeah.
back. I need to play through this game. I know it's long. I know it's going to be taking most of my time, but man, I want to go through it
Yeah.
because it looks good.
Just make sure you use a guide this time, for God's sake, so you don't miss the
I'll
extra
use a
content.
guide for this one to. Yeah, I know that it's a very simple thing where you can just miss the semester, and that just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it irks me a little bit too. I am not gonna lie. Like
Yeah,
I don't like that, especially because the game doesn't tell you that. Like,
I told Amanda about this. I was like,
yeah,
you got to make sure that you get that extra semester, and just this is how you do it. It's just a non-spoiler thing. It's just a confidant thing.
yeah,
That's all you have to do. So
you just gotta talk
yeah,
to people. That's all you
you
gotta
just got to
do.
talk to people all around.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, and I also shout out to Amanda, by the way. She's been
Shout out.
streaming the game. I was just watching her stream before we did the show tonight, and she's actually pretty close to the end of the first palace. So shout
Oh,
out
good
to
for her.
yeah, she's like
The
in
high
the room
school
right
gym
before.
teacher.
Yeah, she's like in the room right before the treasure room, in like her first
Oh,
attempt
okay.
at the
Cool.
palace. So yeah, shout
Cool.
out to Amanda. But anyways, Garrett, now we've ranked all of the mainline Persona games. So now it's spin-off time. There's so many
Spin-off
spin-offs.
time.
We got to
Let's
rank them
go.
all. First of all, we're going to start with the two Persona 4 Arena games, Garrett, which are the Persona fighting games. I don't think you played either of these, right?
No, not even close.
No.
I don't do I know Arc System Works and I just don't play their games. I look at them, I'm like respectfully, I like you guys, but I just don't play you. So
Yeah.
I'll just leave you be.
Whereas I love Arc System Works. People know that I'm kind of like the fighting game person at
Yeah.
Carpool. And I really enjoy these games. One of my favorite things about these games, Garrett, was, and I don't know if you knew this, but these were the first games, especially the first Persona 4 Arena, that had the crossover between Persona 3 and 4. And then we got that expanded with Persona Q.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see those characters cross over after playing both Persona 3 and 4 for the first time. And then because it kind of serves as like an epilogue for those stories. Like because it's a totally canon story within, Persona, within that, timeline. And we know even from, Persona 4 Golden's extra, semester that you have, they go to the high school from Persona 3. So we know that they're in the same universe. So like, I loved the fact that the characters crossed over in this way. And I think it's a pretty solid fighting game. In fact, I'm going to put the original Persona 4 Arena in the B tier because I think it's really good, but it's got, it's rough around the edges. Like they didn't like the character balance isn't amazing. Like there are some overpowered characters in this one. But the story is really good because there's a really, really in-depth and cool story mode for this. As with every Persona game that's out there. Whereas Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, this one is definitely at the bottom of A tier for me, is where I would put this one. Very, very solid fighting game. Much, much better with the fighting mechanics and the character balance than the first one. And the story just picks up where the first one left off. In fact, what they did with the re-release of this is that they actually bundled the story of Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax together. So you play it all the full story in one game, which is really cool. So you don't even need to own both versions to get the full story. So.
And this one was the weird one where Persona 4 Arena was on Xbox 360 as well.
And PlayStation 3. Yeah.
And PlayStation 3. And then Persona 4 Arena Ultimax was only PlayStation 4.
And Switch.
Right. And Switch. Oh, wow. It's on Switch. Interesting.
Yeah. It's just not on Xbox. Which
what
is
a
weird.
weird thing to have. But
yeah.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah. So yeah. Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, very, very good fighting game. If people haven't played it and they like 2D fighting games or if you like, games like Guilty Gear or other Arc System Works games, it's one of the better ones, especially Arena Ultimax specifically. I think it's really good, and it's good for the story. I think it's one of the better Persona spin-off stories, believe it or not. But
okay.
Next up, Garrett, dancing games. It's time to get our dance on. We got to talk about Persona 4, 3, 4, and 5 dancing. So we'll start with Persona 3. Now, Garrett, I knew you'd play Persona 4 dancing all night, but I don't think we've ever talked about Persona 3 and 5 dancing, right? You play those?
I bought the PS4, the not collector's edition, but it's the dual copy edition. Right. I have them. It's in a steelbook collection. I never played them.
Of course.
So there you go.
When do you got to crack them open? I mean, this.
I know.
This for me actually kind of made me fall in love with, because I actually played Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight as an example before playing Persona 3 the base game, and this actually made me fall in love with the music from Persona 3 in a big way to actually help motivate me to go back and play Persona 3 on the PlayStation 2. I think this game is solid, but the campaign is really rough for this game. Really rough. It is not good. But everything else about the game is great. The song selection is great. I love the remixes. And everything I'm saying here applies also to Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight, because they both were developed at the same time, and they both have the same exact problems and also the same, positive things to say about them. So,
okay.
I would rate Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight in the B tier. And I'm going to say our first C tier is going to be Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think the music is good, but I do think man, the story is so bad and you have to play through it to unlock all the songs. And it's rough. It's rough.
Where's the setting on Persona 5?
So essentially the characters go to sleep one night and then they wake up in the Velvet Room, but the Velvet Room is turned into a disco hall. And they talk to the two little girls and they're like, hey, you should go dance. That's the story.
That's it. Okay. All right.
But it's really, really wordy, and it's it's a simple story, but they talk a lot and none of the dialogue's really interesting at all. So it's kind of heartbreaking.
Okay.
Again, Persona 3 only gets the edge over the C category simply because I think the music is done better. I like the remixes better in this game versus 5.
Okay.
Whereas, what I just described here, very different from Persona 4 Dancing All Night, which I think is actually a really solid game.
Definitely.
I love the story mode in this game. I think it's super
I platinumed cool. this one on Vita. It was so, I think it could have been my first platinum on Vita, to be honest with you. It's so good. It's very, very good.
Nice. Yeah, I really love this one as well. Again, the song selection is fantastic. I love all the accessories you can get for the different characters. I really like the fact that they built on the story in a really interesting way where you're kind of learning more about Reese, and also you've got a new character in the mix and you're fighting off shadows by dancing to some sick beats. And then I really like the ending as well. It really wraps up the Persona 4 story well. Because it's kind of serving as the final version, the final chapter of that story, because it takes place after
the Arena Ultimax.
It takes place after the Arena Ultimax story, which is the farthest point in the timeline. So it kind of serves as the final bit of Persona 4 story.
I like Reese being involved in this a lot. She's kind of the central character in this game, and rightfully so, because she's the pop star that dances all around. So man, it's so good. In the songs, in the remix of the songs, I remember getting the album, the physical CD album of this, putting it in my car and just going ham as I drive, through the middle of nowhere, Texas. So yeah.
Oh my God, Garrett, my roommate, she had the collector's edition for this, and it might have been the most jealous I've been for a collector's edition my entire life. It was so cool.
Yeah. So I think I got the collector's edition with the album.
Yeah, it comes with the CD as well as case for Vita and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. So this one, I don't know about you, Garrett. This one's A tier for me.
This is easily an A tier for me.
Yeah.
It's so good, so fun.
I think I'm gonna put this. What do you think about putting it above Persona 4?
You know, I have no opinion. This is all you.
Cool. I'm gonna put it above base Persona 4. In fact, actually, I'll put Arena
Dang, that's
Ultimax
what's
at
up.
that too. I think.
Okay.
I think that's right. I feel like that's like pretty confident about that. But
okay.
Moving on, Garrett. Persona Q. Yep. On the old 3DS. This is where I defer to you, Garrett.
Yes.
I haven't really played Persona Q.
I play both. Now I haven't beaten them. They take like a lot of time actually for I mean, like, you know, comparatively, it's like similar to Persona 4 Gold and Persona 5 Royal. Like these games go on long. Maybe it's a little less than 100 hours, maybe like 80 hours or something like that. So if for folks who don't know, Persona Q and Q2 are spinoffs that follow the same format as the Etrian Odyssey series. And Etrian Odyssey is really good. It's a dungeon crawling role playing game. And they originally they came out a lot on the DS and 3DS, and it was pretty famous because of the dual screen capability, because the bottom screen will be like your 2D grid map, and then your top screen is your actual view, your first person view. And then you use the stylus to like kind of mark where there's like, let's say, a doorway or a trap, or you know, you literally draw the map as you go throughout the dungeon. It's very unique, I think. I enjoy these. I think as I was playing Persona Q2 more and more, I liked it less and less, only because the management is crazy. You have Persona 3, 4, and 5 characters. All of them. And I'm like, are you insane? You want me to manage like 30 different characters, not 30, like 15 different characters within this game and level them up pretty similar. And I have a hard enough time with the mainline Persona games to level up like 6 or 7 characters. I cannot do all of them together at the same time. So what I'm going to say is that they're fun. I wouldn't say they're required for a Persona fan. I'm going to put Persona Q1 in B tier.
Okay.
I would put it. Yeah, I just put it anywhere, to be honest.
I would put it there probably.
Yeah.
Because I definitely think Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight has to be at the bottom of the B tier.
Okay. And I'm gonna put Persona Q2 in the C tier only because I got pretty annoyed by the scaling and difficulty and the repetitiveness, but also just like, here's 25 different characters to just, you know, go at it and like try to level up, try to optimize. They try to add in some new mechanics of Persona, which is it was just fine. Very as Ryan said, you know, these spin-off games, they're very talky as well. These games are very talky, and while I like the interactions between 5, 4, and 3 characters, it was just still too much. I was just like, just go on with the next thing. What I want to do is just kind of play through this Etrian Odyssey like Persona spinoff. I think they did a pretty good job with that. I think they did a good job with the combat and the dungeon crawling, and you know, it's rock solid. It's just everything else was kind of okay, whatever. Sounds
exactly.
good.
And plus, like, it's the only set of spinoffs really that has a non-canonical story. So it's just like, it's hard to get invested in the talkiness, I think, as well. Cause like, you know, the story just isn't going anywhere.
Yeah. So Persona Q sets in the like, they really just take them out in the middle of their storylines and just put them in there. Q2, you also have a catchy in there, which I find interesting. So you have an extra character in there to just mix around in Q2, and they have everyone. It's actually kind of funny to see all the mascots in there. It's the dog and Teddy, and then also Morgana just talking to each other in one scene in a 3DS, and you're just like, this is so weird to see. But other than that, the talkiness is a little too much for my taste.
And those are that's the only game so far that it crosses over with the 3 games. And we've still also at this point never had a Persona game that crosses over all 5 mainline games.
Right.
So maybe they'll bring Persona 1 and 2 characters back at some point.
Maybe Capcom will make it.
Yeah, maybe. All right, Garrett. Next up on the spin-off train, Persona 5 Strikers for the PlayStation and the PC and the old Switch. This one really grinds my gears a lot. It's not a game that I particularly love for a number of reasons. First of all, I think there are some positive things about this game. One, I do think that the combat outside the boss encounters, I think is fun. Like, I think there's
it is
some fun combat outside the boss encounters. I do like the idea of the fact that the story doesn't take place in one major city. It's like you're kind of like crossing the country. I like that aspect of it. But man, the boss fights just really drag this game down. And also the story just really drags too. Like it felt like I was playing like a filler story from like a really bad anime or something. We're playing like really bad Naruto filler or something like that with the story.
This was an interesting one. Yeah, I didn't really care for the combat too much in this one. And the pacing was so off. It was like kind of like, oh, this is kind of fast. This is kind of slow. It kind of drags on. What I do want to, what I also want to say is that this is a pretty good story. I think I like the story more than anything else in this game. And also the new characters they introduce in this game, pretty good.
Okay.
And it's bouncing off of actually Persona 5 base storyline, I think.
Yeah.
Which is interesting as well. So
yeah, because at that time, I think like around when this game came out, I don't think Royal had come out when this had come out.
This, well, actually, Strikers, oh man, I can't recall. I think it was pretty close. Actually, hold on. Let me check that real quick.
Also, while you do that, Garrett, the Pigeon Loft is here. Lockcliff is raiding us. Hello, Raiders. Hello, Lockcliff. I hope y'all had a super fun stream over there at the Lockcliff's stream. Of course, we are ranking, we're doing a tier list of all the Persona games right now. We're near the end though. We only got 2 games left. But
I'm checking real quick here. So Persona 5 Strikers came out in Japan February 2020 and actually worldwide 2021, a year later.
Yeah.
So this came after Persona 5 Royal.
Okay.
Yeah, because Persona 5 Royal came out 2019, Japan 2020, America.
So then it seems weird to me because you're right. Like that seems weird to me that they would kind of base it off the original game story and not what we learned in Royal. But I don't know. Whatever.
Oh wait. I'm so sorry. Hold on. I'm checking myself real quick. Persona 5 Royal. Oh no, wait. Oh sorry, that's the PS5. Yeah. I think Persona 5 Royal came out on PS4 in 2020.
Yeah, you're right about that. I know.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, this came out a year later.
Yeah. Anyways, getting back to Strikers. So you like the story a lot. Whereas
I would put it C tier.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think overall as a game, I think I agree with you. It's definitely C tier. In fact, it's probably the top of C tier because I think it's probably stronger than Q2 or Dancing in Starlight, I think.
Right.
Because I definitely think Dancing in Starlight's the worst game on this list. So, despite the fact that there are some good music in that game, but and then Q2 is what it is. But Garrett, the time has come for us to rank the final game, the newest game in the Persona series, Persona 5 Tactica, which just came out last year. So, and it has its own goofy and weird story that is does its own thing as well. We had the return of the chibi characters, but no crossover this time. Just some really like new characters this time around, and you get very different characters in this game, which I liked.
Yes.
But, I think we talked about it last year, but I think both of us liked this game a lot.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I recently finished it about a month ago, and was this a canonical storyline, or I couldn't tell.
I don't think it was. I think they came out and confirmed that it was not. I don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, but I agree with you. The characters are super different, and very. I like the personalities. I like the writing in this game a lot. And
I love that one of the main characters is like a senator, and he's just hanging out with you, and he's just a dude in a suit.
Yeah, I didn't expect that at all. I thought that senator was nothing. I thought he was like kind of a worthless person and just side character, but he became the focal point of this whole storyline. Very cool. I like the villains in this game a lot too. I think they did a pretty good job of like developing their own motives and like how it relates to the main characters as well. And I just overall the tactic combat of this game, pretty rock solid. I overall enjoyed it, and I think even on top of that, they did some really cool novel mechanics related to placement and how you actually execute your attacks, much different than any other tactics game I've played. So kudos to them to make a very fun and very unique tactics game in general. I was surprised.
Definitely after this, like, I'm like, I really hope they go back to this idea with another game at some point. Cause like, you're right, Garrett, like they like really nailed the tactics combat in this, which I really enjoyed. And then the story was fun too. Like, I liked the fact that the story, like, you know, there were some cool moments and stuff like that, but it wasn't like taking itself too seriously. And I think it was well paced. So I enjoyed like both the story and the combat a lot. This is like, I'm hovering though, Garrett. Like, what do you think? Is it A tier or B tier? Because it's on like the edge for me between those two.
Yeah, it's pretty much at the edge for me too. I would say, to me personally, I would say A tier. But yeah,
I think I agree with you. In fact, I think this is probably better than base Persona 4. I think is where I put this.
Okay,
like put it here where Arena Ultimax, like it's kind of in the same bucket of quality, I think, as Dancing All Night, Arena Ultimax, and then this. I think they're all like very solid in the genres that they represent. I think all three of them are great spinoffs and should absolutely be played by fans of Persona. 100%.
100%. So cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
I feel good about this list, Garrett. I feel like we did a pretty good tier list here of all the Persona games. So just to recap things for audio listeners, since they can't physically see this, although I'm going to show this in the Discord as well as if anyone at home would like to tier rank the Persona games and then share them with us, I'm actually, after the show is over, I'm going to take this link and share it in the Discord, and y'all can let us know what your favorite Persona games are, because we'd love to hear from you. So starting off with the S tier, Persona 5 Royal and Persona 3 FES, and then the A tier, we've got Persona 5, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Persona 5 Tactica, and base Persona 4. In our B tier, we've got base Persona 3, Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Arena, Persona Q, and Persona 3 Dancing in Moonlight. And then the C tier, we've got Persona 5 Strikers, Persona Q2, and then rounding out the list, Persona 5 Dancing in Starlight. And of course, didn't play Persona 1 on PSP, Persona 2, and then Persona 2 on PSP. So there you go, Garrett. That's our list. That's our final tier list. Luckleth likes Persona L the most, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that a game?
No, that doesn't exist.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, it's all good. So there you go. That's our tier list. Like I said, folks, we'll be posting that in the Discord, and feel free to share your list with us, because I would love to see them. But Garrett, the show is not over yet, and we're not done talking about Persona yet, because we got questions from the audience, and all of these questions are about Persona. So let's get into this.
100%.
We're going to start with Fuya, who says, which Persona game is the shortest? Can you play any of them in under 50 hours? And I'm not talking about Kevin McMuffin speed. So I don't think I think if you want one that's under 50 hours, base Persona 4 or base Persona 3 are under that time frame. You know, some of the spinoffs you might be able to beat in that time frame as well, but I think like if you want like a mainline Persona experience in that amount of time, the closest you're going to get is base Persona 4 or base Persona 3, I think. But
yeah, and then Persona 1 and 2 we haven't played, so, and I'm sure they're shorter. Like
I think they are too. I think they're under like 40 hours, but I know that they're very difficult. So and hard to
they're hard to get, and they're hard to have access to them. But yeah, like other spinoffs, Persona 5 Tactica is I think it's a pretty good way to go and to be introduced to the characters. You might I don't know. Because you got to be familiar with Persona 5 characters.
I was just going to say, I feel like Persona 5 Tactica, it expects you to know some of the characters a little bit, because it doesn't really do a good job of introducing them to a new player, I think. Which is too bad, because you're right. Like, I feel like that might be a really good starting point for new players if it wasn't
I think
for
it's
that
easier too. It's easier than mainline Persona games.
and sure, I think you can beat that game in like 30 to 40 hours. So
yeah.
So maybe actually you're right, Garrett. Persona 5 Tactica is probably the game to recommend here for this.
Yeah. And then I think it's a good introduction to Persona 5, even though they don't introduce the characters as much.
Yeah.
You can look them up maybe and just be fine.
Mm-hmm. Also, Persona 4 Golden isn't really, the longest game in the world if you don't play the extra semester. There's that.
That's true. That's true.
It is definitely more manageable than the
purposely miss it.
Yeah. If you've got it's not as bad as the 100-hour experiences with some of the other games. So as far as
I really got a rough ending in Persona 4 Golden.
Yeah.
I remember that being abruptly ending. I'm like, this is definitely not it.
You probably didn't fight the final boss the correct way, which
no,
then led
definitely did not. It ended in fog.
Right. Yeah, that's not the way that game's supposed to end. Even with base Persona 3 or Persona 4, but
yeah, no, I think I got like a bad ending. Like in general, like the worst ending you could get.
All the kids are murdered, and that's just how the game ends, apparently. So
yeah, pretty much.
All right. Next up, we got Ryba, who says, okay, I don't know anything about the series except for 20 minutes of Persona 5 Royal. Does one start at the beginning, or is Persona 3 okay, which is where Steam starts? So I think, first of all the Persona games are very much like the Final Fantasy games, even though they technically exist in the same universe. And in Persona 4 Golden, you go to the high school in Persona 3. They're really connected in no way, shape, or form whatsoever.
Right.
So it doesn't matter which one you start with, as long as you pick one and go with it. They just obviously, besides just probably don't start with the spinoffs, because as we mentioned, the spinoffs are generally expect you to know the characters. At least most of them do. So
they expect you to hey, you're in the middle of the story, they're being pulled out. Yeah. Or it's afterwards, after the school semester or whatever. They expect you to know those characters for sure.
Exactly. So first of all, I know 5 Royal is a great place to start if you've got 120 hours to kill. I do think it's definitely well worth the time investment for a game like that. I do think it's very solid. And I do think that Persona 3 Reload is shaping up to be just as good or just as worth it for the time investment that game is looking like it's going to have. But obviously we don't know. It's too early to tell at this point. But I would say
I want Rybo to start at Persona 1, to be honest with you. I just
get on his PlayStation Vita.
Rybo, just start at the very beginning and do crimes and figure it out and just play. Actually, no, Persona 1 is on the PlayStation Classic.
It is. You can play the PAL version of Persona 1.
The PAL version of Persona 1. That's the best version.
That's what I hear.
But yeah, I think I agree with Ryan. It's 5 Royal or 3 Reload.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have a better sense of that after this month is over, whether or not 3 Reload is the place I tell people to start. But the nice thing about 3 Reload, when it comes out on Friday, it's gonna be on Game Pass. So anyone can try it out and you don't have to buy it to try it out. So
that's where I'll be playing it.
Yeah. So same here, man. I'm not buying that game again. Well, maybe I will after I play through it, because I'm the type of person that's if I like this game enough, I'll probably end up picking it up. But yeah, I love Persona 3 a lot, so I can't wait to play this one. But next up, we got the most famous of all the Seamuses, who has multiple questions for us, Garrett. First one is, what are some of your favorite songs from all the Persona games?
All of them.
We can go. I don't think we need to go through each game and talk about our favorite songs, but we can maybe pick a couple, Garrett. For me, in Persona 5, I love Last Surprise, the original combat music. Right. It just gets stuck in your head in all the best ways possible. And I like Takeover, which is the song from Persona 5 Royal. But man, there's something just really special about Last Surprise that gets me going. That I'm sad isn't in there, which is too bad. So that one's definitely up there with one of my favorites. Same with from Persona 3, Way of Life, which is one of the open world walking around kind of songs. It just really just gets in my head. And in Persona 3, Dancing in Moonlight, they did like a really great remix of it that I really enjoy. So I got to rank that up there as well. And then, I would also say the Whims of Fate, the music from the Casino Palace in Persona 5, I really enjoy as well. So those are kind of my 3 that I'm going to pick for this. But what are some of your favorite songs, Garret?
Mine's gonna be all Persona 4, because the album over there is so good. Heartbreak, Heartbreak.
That's a good one.
Remember that? Yeah, no, I really like that one. The Jonas theme song, of course. And then just I don't know, like I went through that Persona 4 Dancing All Night album a lot, and there's some really good remixes in there as well. I can't give you off the top of my head, but man, I went through that album like crazy in the car. And also it's on Spotify. Like a lot of the Persona music is on Spotify as well. So
in fact, I'm excited for the Reload soundtrack to just pop up any day now, probably.
My goodness, that intro song.
Yeah.
It's so really good. Yeah. It's so and I love the video too. It's just so, I don't know, it's just minimal but also full of style. Like they did a good job with that.
In fact, all of the Persona 3 intro songs are like all bops like that. Like they're all good. So can't wait for that. But next up, would you recommend the OG versions of Persona games like OG Persona 3, 4, and 5 over the other versions like FES and PFP, Golden or Royal? As we talked about when we were doing the tier list, I would only recommend to go back to them if you wanted that version of the game, but shorter. If you don't want the extra content. Even though there are extra quality of life improvements in the additional versions of the games, like that's the only reason probably to replay them. Or if you're just a completionist and you feel like you need to play them.
But I think for 5, definitely do Royal over the base game. I just hear the quality of life stuff is just it's just
way better.
A much smoother experience than the base game. So
yeah, especially even coming down to like the seeds that you find in each palace that restore your SP and allow you to keep going through the palace for longer, as an example, was like a good addition.
To
that?
What did you just say, Ryan?
There's seeds that you can find, and they get
there isn't.
Yeah, there is.
Oh god!
I just watched Amanda do it on stream like an hour ago.
In the Royal version, they have that type of thing. Yeah. Oh my gosh! I remember being so robbed with SP.
Yeah.
Of course they did. Man, I got to go through this game.
Yeah, it actually just makes it so much easier because then you can just definitely do it in one day easily, no problem.
Yeah, because I remember, going through 5, I'm like, man, I'm out of SP. This sucks. I got to get out of here or else I get destroyed. But man, they have something like that in Royal. That would be pretty.
No, there's 3 of them you can find in each palace, and it gives you the locations on the map, so you can find them usually pretty easily. Because Morgana can sniff them out, so that's a whole thing.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next up, how would you recommend the Persona games to other people, despite some of the, lack of a better words, gross elements of the series, like the moments where the gay guys in the OG version of Persona 5 that thankfully were removed from Royal, the adult romance options in Persona 5, or the burlesque level in Persona 5 dancing. Yes, that's a thing in Persona 5 dancing in Star.
Interesting.
Yes. That's something. Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't really bother me. Like, don't get me wrong, there are definitely questionable elements, but part of me is able to turn my brain off to some of that stuff. And, that doesn't, make it okay to include all that stuff in those games. But I also feel like I can enjoy those games even with that stuff there. But yeah. I mean, I feel perfectly comfortable recommending them, especially because they are such a small slice of a very large experience as well.
It sounds like this is more of just a Persona 5 issue than any other mainline games.
Yeah, I mean, there's some questionable stuff in all the games, but it's you're right. Like, it's definitely more minimal in the older games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I remember the adult romancing options in Persona 5. That was interesting. I was just like, serious? I'm a high school kid. Like, I
Yep.
can just do this. Like,
Yeah, just go date a bunch of like 20 or 30-year-olds.
yeah. And then I don't know. I just, when I recommend someone a Persona game, it's more just like, are you into RPGs? Are you into turn-based stuff?
Yeah.
And if so, then I would say just try one of them out. Of course, 5 Royal would be the recommendation. Looks like
Yeah.
they kind of fixed most of the stuff in there. So, and just let them know it's Japan.
Yeah.
And Japanese culture is pretty, they're very open, very fluid in terms of just like the innuendos and lesser age, I would say, like,
Yeah, especially like the teacher dating thing, like the adult
yeah.
dating thing, like that is much more of a normal thing in Japanese culture. And just
Especially if you watch anime, it's a very normal thing in
right.
anime.
No, I mean, like
Yeah.
so like in Persona 5, like or the Persona games are very much meant to be like a slice of Japan culture in a lot of ways, and I think like that's what makes it more, tolerable for me, I think.
Yeah.
But
Just acknowledge that this is definitely not the norm
yeah,
in Western culture or
for
anything
sure.
like
I mean,
that.
it's the
So
same thing when you watch anime because, to your point,
yeah,
Garrett, a lot
exactly.
of anime does the same thing, and I don't have a problem recommending anime.
I remember watching Sword Art Online,
Oh my
the
god.
first season of it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wait, is this actually happening? And folks who know, like what's happening in the first season. I'm just like, this is a little too much for me.
Yeah. Clearly, you're reminded
Anyways,
of this by my Sword Art Online autographed Funko Pops that are behind me.
I didn't even recognize that. Is that
Yeah.
from one of the seasons?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, wait.
So first of all, this one I've got the Queen Funko Pop autographed by the voice
Oh,
actor.
that's so cool.
But
Yeah.
then, I've got Lifa, who's autographed by
Yeah.
Morgana's voice actress is
Oh,
this person.
cool.
And then I've also got this Asuna one as well, who's also voiced by this
Oh,
same person,
nice.
the person who also does Queen's voice. So,
Some good grabs.
yeah,
Nice.
I actually have almost the entire Persona 5 cast in some way or another autographed, and
Nice.
it just so happens that sometimes if I want like a pop version, the Morgana pop is not as easy to find, so the Leaf Flip pop.
I have the Morgana pop, and then I have the original 4. So I have the main hero, Joker, right, and Anne, and then what's Ryuji and Morgana. I have those 4.
So the beginning crew, the four
beginning crew, yeah, and also have Joker's amiibo. Those are like my only action, like kind of physical placement stuff that I have in display right now.
Nice. All right, so that's all Famous Seamus's question. Last question tonight, Garrett, comes to us from Nagachaka, and this is like the most Nagachaka question ever. Which Persona game had the better romance options? Persona 5 Royal or Persona 3? I like the fact that
those.
I like the fact that Nagachaka didn't bring up Persona 4. Like that's not even an option for best romance at all. But
I think that is the best one. But yeah, continue.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the thing. I actually like the variety of choices in romances in Persona 5 a lot. Like I like how, first of all, the plethora of people you can romance in Persona 5 is definitely more than the other games. So it also gives you a lot more choice as to who you want to romance. So I like that aspect of it. I do personally actually prefer the cast of Persona 3 though. So I do think that I probably like the romance options probably better in that game. And what's cool about playing the female character, Garrett, is it's the only Persona game where you can romance the male characters. Because you're playing as the female character, which is really interesting too, to kind of see that side of things. So I like that there's some variety there with Persona 3 a little bit. So my pick is probably Persona 3, but it's like a toss up. I think all the Persona games have great romance options.
Yeah. Sounds good. I agree with you. Persona 5 has a lot of different characters. I remember I went for I romanced Makoto in the base game. And so I'm really wondering what I should do for 5 Royal.
Okay.
Which one I should go for. Definitely a different gal over there?
I went for base Persona 5 Garret. I went for Haru was my choice.
Oh, which is like the least favorite.
I actually like Haru a lot. She's great.
Yeah.
She likes to talk to you about gardening. You know, you go to all these fancy places. I like her. I like her as a romance.
Yeah, as a huge battle axe.
Yeah.
You know,
she likes to smash shadows stuff in the face. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that side of her. That's cool. And then for Royal, I did Kasumi because I thought she was like a really.
I want to. I want to see if I can romance Kasumi. That's the new one, right?
The new she's the new character. Yeah. I like the fact that first of all she was romanceable at all, but also I like that. Whereas in Persona 3, I almost kind of don't want to spoil who my romance homages are because I think like Garret, I think we will talk about this when you eventually play that game. I think.
Oh, definitely.
I would love to compare it a little bit more.
I will definitely choose a waifu in Persona 3 Reload.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, I guess. I'll mention, one of my choices, one of my playthroughs, I romanced the robot lady because of course I did. She's a robot.
Oh, yes, of course. The android.
Yeah. But I won't spoil the rest of them because there's some interesting choices for romance in Persona 3. And again, I'm really interested to see how they handle romance in the new one. If they expanded a little bit, maybe there's other characters you can romance. Because I know that they expanded like the confidant list now. So I'm interested to know like what other characters they might have added or what kind of characters might have not been romanceable before but are romanceable, and if the romances go in a different direction this time around. Like I think all that stuff will be really interesting to see, but I'm sure that's a big conversation we'll have like with the community in the Discord like as the game is out. Maybe even actually I should look into this like maybe creating like a game channel for that in the Discord for us to just talk about Persona 3 when the game comes out. But
yeah, sure, maybe.
Yeah. But anyways, Garret, that's going to do it for Persona Talk, aka RPG Cave level 122. Oh my God, I can't speak tonight, Garret.
1, 2, 2. There you go.
There you go. But anyways, before we go, Garret, plugs go.
You can follow me at Twitter/X at Bland Explosion. You can find me on the Discord. Very active on the RPG Cave. I read all of you. I sometimes I'm a ghost in there, but I see you all chattering about, and I like the camaraderie. I like the conversations going on within that channel. It's very homey there.
I mean, a lot of it is just Savoy Prime and Nagachaka going back and forth and roasting each other.
I love it. That's
what I noticed today. And then Yarden just hanging out.
Did you notice that Savoy is talking trash about Mana series? So I guess we gotta kick him out. I gotta kick him out.
It's almost like he replied to me directly and said that game's trash, and I'm like, I gave him
he's a Falcom fan, so he's just discredited in general. So
yeah, exactly. Oh well, I don't know if it's discredited because Matt also likes the Falcom games too, and I don't think I can discredit Matt, but. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like all opinions are valid in the Carpool Gaming channel. Some of them might be wrong, but they're all valid. But
sounds good.
I love the fact that he was just like, it's not even worth $2.50. I'm just like, get out of here. But and no, Ribo's asking, do I get to ban someone? No, you don't get to ban anyone. But especially not Big Beal. It could never ban Big Beal. But as for me, you can find me on the old Twitter, aka X. At Ryan Turford. You can find us on X at Carpool Gaming, right here, youtube.com/Carpool Gaming. Of course, podcast services around the globe. Matt Swinski, of course, taught me the power of saying X like X instead of just saying X.
Oh no.
So expect on every show now from now on, Garret.
It reminds me of like, like you're wrong.
Yeah,
like,
a little bit.
This is false.
When you guess like some really wrong answer on Family Feud or something like that. And
it's that's definitely it. Yeah. The classic ant type of thing. Yeah.
Matt, of course, leaving his legacy behind. So now I have to, carry on.
Matt is Mark, a very big RPG fan, RPG guy.
Maybe he'll talk about RPGs with us one day. Again, who knows?
One day. We'll I know he's obsessed with that, like a wealth or
like
whatever video game. Yeah, like Infinite Wealth. That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth is the full title of that game, Garret.
I can't believe that's the title of that game.
Look, you ride around on dolphins. It's like Animal Crossing, but also you're
So
going around taking pictures of people.
Is it Yakuza : Like a Dragon : Infinite Wealth, or is it just Like a Dragon : Infinite Wealth?
No. So what they did with Yakuza Like a Dragon is they unified the names. So because in Japan the name of the series has always been Like a Dragon. It's never been Yakuza. Whereas in North America the name has always been Yakuza. So with Part 7 they named it Yakuza Like a Dragon so that all the subsequent entries would just be named Like a Dragon instead.
So Yakuza Like a Dragon is actually just Yakuza 7 in Japan, or Like a Dragon 7 or whatever.
It's Like a Dragon 7 in Japan.
Is Yakuza Japanese for Like a Dragon? Like a Dragon.
That's not what Yakuza means at all. It's Yakuza is basically
the Japanese gang, right? Like it's a gang name.
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of the Japanese mafia, essentially.
Right, exactly. This is very confusing, but sure. Okay, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. I'm here for it. It looks like a very good game. I want to finish Yakuza Like a Dragon first before I even touch Infinite Wealth, because it's a kind of a direct sequel, and also it's combining the two main characters. So I want to play the some of the Yakuza games too.
All the old ones. There's like
not all the old ones, not all 6 of them. Or 7 of them. Jeez, I don't know if I have that in me. It's like a Falcom series over there.
Yeah,
I can't.
Yeah, actually, one of the funny things, Garret, that I'm glad that you mentioned that was on PlayStation Drive today. We had a question about the Falcom series and where to start with the Falcom series, and it's I don't even know how to answer that question.
Did Matt like go through this whole like map, like a start, like one of those flowchart maps, like if you're interested in this, start here type of thing?
We never really came up with an actual answer.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. It's just like I don't know.
I hear it was the Trails in the Sky is a good one to start with.
Yeah,
and that's the original ones, I guess.
Yeah, so, I mean they'll come to other consoles eventually, besides PC. But anyways, we're just reminiscing. We got to go. But before we go, of course, this is the RPG Cave for Garret Bland. I'm Ryan Turford. This has been the 122nd level of the RPG Cave, and we're out.
Bye-bye.